in the special session. We'll have to see. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about Joe Corley jail, and then we have a number of people here that are either running for office or have just recently been elected or are elected. I want to give you all a chance to come up here and talk to the extent you want to. We have a policy here. We give candidates and elected officials 3 minutes to come up and talk about whatever is on their mind, just so we can find out what's going on. Joe Corley, I don't know how many you get the Villager. How many people get the Villager? Okay, this last week, the Villager had a front page, slightly above the fold, just barely above the fold, article on the Joe Corley jail, and what the title of the article said: Commissioners creating jail industry in Montgomery County. And there's a guy by the name of Jon Bauman who's quoted in here. Anyway, this article came up because at the last Commissioners Court meeting, and I mentioned this last week, there was an item on the agenda that, frankly, I didn't really focus on when I was doing my research before the meeting, but it said, consider and approve resolution and order supporting the proposed new GEO facility at 806 High Big Road, Conroe, Texas. What does that mean?
That means there was a trade-off. That's what that means.
Well, it turned out as the meeting progressed, they broke for a special session, and I was talking to J.D. Lambright, who's our county attorney, and it turned out that as part of the sale agreement that the county had for the Joe Corley jail, they had agreed to pass this resolution to basically get out of the way and maybe even help the building of a new jail facility. The jail facility that we sold, and I'll get into that in a minute, is just under 1,300 beds, as I understand it. They're going to build up to 1,500 bed facility right next door to this. So we are building a jail industry in the town. And let me get back to what was really happened here. The county came out and told us originally they were building this jail to get a third party to pay for a jail that we would ultimately use. What we have found out since then is that the specifications to which this jail were built were not the specifications for Texas. Texas has more stringent specifications for jails than the feds do. And so we could not put a single prisoner in this jail unless it went through some fairly extensive renovation changes. So this idea that they were building a jail for us was bogus. It was a fraud. They weren't building a jail for the county. They were building a jail for an industry. And had they come to the citizens of Montgomery County and said that up front, and said, we're going to build this industry and we're going to make money out of this for the county, I'm not sure how many of the people in this county would agree to that. Why do we want a jail industry in our county, in this county that's becoming increasingly populated? And then when we go to sell the jail, I can't remember the number exactly, but they always do an appraisal of the facility. They have to before they put it up for bid. And they appraised this thing at like $47 million.
42, I think it was.
$42 million came out as the appraisal. The county commission sat up there and for reasons that never were explained said, no, we're going to put a minimum bid of $55 million. Well, how do they get that? And then GEO comes in as the only bidder and offers them $65 million. Wait, what in the world is going on here? Where's the value that's creating all this? I mean, there's a whole bunch here that we don't know yet, but the whole thing is really, really, really strange. But the bottom line is, the county commissioners court can now say, hey, look at all the money we made. You know, we built this thing and we made all these millions of dollars. And, you know, we're heroes. We don't elect these guys to be entrepreneurs. We don't elect them to take risks. And when they take a risk like that, they can easily lose money. They happen to make money this time, but they can lose money. That's not what we want our tax dollars used for. But we end up as a county, we're going to have almost 3,000 inmates up there that we have no control over who they are, that are going to be housed in this county. We have a permanent, huge, I think 3,000 tickets without prison is a lot of prison. Huge jail facility, jail industry in our county that we didn't have before. And when this came up for vote, Commissioner Metter, who was running the court because the judge was in the hospital. Is he okay, by the way? Yes. The judge was in the hospital. You know, he's bragging about how many jobs this is going to bring. Well, it's not a question of jobs. We have lots of jobs in this county. It's a question of what kind of jobs and what kind of exposure and whatnot we want in the county. Anyway, I think this is pretty outrageous. I don't. If you look at this thing, they're having an online poll, and they say, "Do you support Montgomery County Commissioner's decision on agreeing to allow GEO to build and run the second privately run federal prison in Conroe?" Vote online, www.yourwoodlandsnews.com. So please, ladies and gentlemen, vote online and write about this. This is something we need to write about. And I'll tell you why we need to do this. There's nothing we can do about it now. I think it's water over the dam. But we are going to have a Commissioners Court race coming up next year. And one commissioner that was involved in this all the way along and voted yes all the way along is going to be running for county judge. We need to be having him run on this record. His assistant, who was there all along, maybe he needs to be running, we need to try to make him run as an incumbent. So this is a huge, huge, it's not the only issue that's going to come up, but this is an important thing that the county be aware of and people be mad about. I'm personally not mad about it at all, you can tell. But it's totally outrageous, and we really need to hold our politicians accountable. We cannot let them get away with this thing. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bauman, is there any chance that we might get some of those GEO people on the county? Is that what that's about?
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. No. Right now, the contract is with the contract's with the marshals, U.S. Marshals.
Yeah, so where are they going?
Well, good question. But you know, when they did this thing initially, that's when they were first talking about doing Gitmo. So that would have exacerbated the anxiety in this county not to let this happen to begin with. Back with the original jail. So I mean, we've been hoodwinked. It's a fraud. We've been totally hoodwinked, and they backed us into this industry, and that's something that should not happen. That's not. We're not even talking transparency. This is fraudulent. And I will be writing something in the near future, going back and looking at the annual report of the county, and quoting back as to what they said they were doing with this facility. Because believe me, they did say they were building it for us. That our county jail was going to run out of capacity, and eventually, and we would be using it for the county jail. And Julie and I spent about 3 hours with Tommy Gage, our sheriff, about 3 weeks ago, and up in his office, and Tommy says, you know, they never put a single person in there, and they never even talked to him about it. This was something they just did because they thought it was a good deal. So, I mean, this happens. It's kind of something like out of the Wild West thing. I mean, it's something you think this is historic behavior of our politicians, and it's not. Okay.